Story 1. No one from my family showed up at my wedding just because I married my sister's crush. My sister and my husband went to college together. She had a crush on him since day one. He was all she talked about. They became part of a very close group of friends, and that same year she invited him and her friends to spend Boxing Day with my family. That's where I met him. We had sex that same night and I felt horrible. My sister eventually moved on. She met her husband and she got married last summer. During all these years, my husband and I met sporadically, and one of the times he told me he loved me, but what could we have done? We tried to date others and I tried to forget him, but I couldn't imagine myself with anyone else, and that made my relationship short and loveless. We met again officially at my sister's wedding. She had invited all her college friends. My husband and I met and he asked me to stop running away, and we started dating secretly. A year later, he proposed. Now I had to tell my family. I have never endured so much hate and isolation in my whole life. I lied to them. I told them that we met at my sister's wedding and we hit it off. I never told them how I've been in love with him for almost a decade and that we have met at least once a year since that Christmas. And they've been the best days of my life. My sister is happily married and she just had her baby. Still, she told me she hated me and never wanted anything to do with me. My family shared the same sentiment, that I'm a horrible person. My husband told me he didn't care about a wedding if my family not showing up and would hurt me. We have wasted many years and that we didn't choose to fall for each other. He wanted me to be his wife. I still sent invitations to my family, but nobody showed up. Only my friends and my husband's family. I wish they could forgive me for finally choosing my happiness. Edit to add, I'm getting a lot of questions about telling the whole story. I don't know what more I should have written here other than this. Maybe I didn't do a good job with my sister's crush. My sister is outgoing and she was always open with her thoughts and feelings, so her crush on my husband was a well-known thing to us sisters and mothers. And it was known for the longest time. That's why if they have known about me and him going back longer than what I've said, believe me, they would have confronted me a long time ago, given their strong reaction after I told them. Even after all these years, they wouldn't be silent if they knew something was up. Also, they were really shocked and felt that I betrayed my sister and hurt her feelings because he's an old crush. And we don't date each other's crushes, let alone marry them. I misjudged my sister's crush. We all knew she was in love and that she was hurt when he didn't reciprocate, but I thought by the time she met her husband she was over him. Now I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to my sister's husband in months, but from what I've heard, he's not happy about her reaction and things aren't going so well with them. This is also added to why my family is angry, because I caused the rift between my sister and brother-in-law. New edit, we are 4 sisters. I'm the second oldest and my sister in question is the youngest. All 4 of us are of similar age and closer than best friends. This adds more because she feels really betrayed. I really hope I filled in all the missing information now. Sorry for not being clear, and I'm sorry this isn't adequate as the full story. Update. As I said, many of you suggested that I should come clean. And there are pros and cons. Pros is that it's the right thing to do, and if my sister wants to hate me, she has the right to know the full extent of my betrayal. I will never pretend what I did back then was right. I just fell for him. Is that a good enough excuse? And seeing that I still love him so many years later, it was real from the beginning. The cons is that it would probably hurt my sister even more and probably jeopardize her marriage even more if it turns out she's still hung up over my husband. So I wrote a long email to my mother telling her everything and asking her what I should do. I texted her to go read it. That was last night. This morning she called me and was so cold. She didn't ask how I've been, didn't congratulate me, didn't ask about my husband. She was on point and warned me about telling my sister anything. She said that my brother-in-law has moved out of their home and is asking for a divorce. So if I told my sister everything now, it will only make it worse for her. She said that I'm not allowed to contact my sister in any way and for any reason. I should leave her alone and move on with my life. She said that she couldn't believe her eyes when she read my email. And how horrible I actually have been towards my sister. It's worse than I thought. My mom's coldness made me understand how much I've hurt my family. I apologized for everything. I apologized to my sister for breaking our family. She said, "Is there anything else?" Fine, goodbye then. Later, my oldest sister called me. She has always been the gentlest, and she told me that she missed me and that mom told her everything. The separation between my little sister and her husband is serious. They have been fighting for months now, and he left on my wedding day because my sister was very angry and crying all day. Big sister said that they didn't want to bother me with these details on my honeymoon. I asked her if she was angry at me, and she said that none of them actually is, maybe except my little sister, but that I should give it time. I've talked to my husband now about everything, and I asked him if we have messed up. He just comforted me and told me to be patient, but I don't know. Our marriage started with hardship and at the cost of one of my favorite people and her husband. I'm so sorry. Now let's see what the community has to say. Opinion number 1 says, so, your sister had been talking up this guy for quite some time as her crush, and she invites him and some friends over, and somehow you are sleeping with him that very night. Am I reading that correctly? If this had been told from your sister's point of view, it would have been perceived by most people as some kind of malignant power move to basically gut your sister and rub her nose in the mud. My guess is that even though she has moved on, she has never gotten over that sense of betrayal, and now she feels she is going to be reminded of it the rest of her life. The fact that the rest of your family is siding with her makes me feel like you are downplaying the fallout of what happened after the original event. Opinion number 2 says, she's mad at you because you betrayed her from the beginning, long before she got engaged to another man. You knew that she liked him but decided to have sex with him anyways on the first night of him being there at Boxing Day with your family. You need to come clean about this for yourself and to your sister, and to your husband if you want to maintain this strong relationship with him. I think she's more angry about the principles and your betrayal rather than about the actual former crush at all. I would never sleep with a man my sister is interested in, despite if I have my own feelings for him. The lying, deceit, and lack of accountability on your part is alarming. Opinion number 3 says, they probably suspected you slept with him the first time and your engagement confirmed it. Do you and your sister have a competitive relationship? I don't think the issue is the man as much as it is the violation of trust. I suspect this isn't an isolated incident in violating her trust. Apologize, be nice, and move on. Eventually it will probably heal. I hate that it has affected your family so deeply. Enjoy your life with your husband. How about you guys? What do you think? What advice would you give to OP and her sister? Leave a comment and see what others think down below. Story 2. I'm keeping my child's grandmother away from me and my son's life after my husband died, and it caused chaos. I'm a 37-year-old female. My husband, Oliver, died in a car crash 8 years ago, at age 31. The only reason I could keep on my feet back then was because of my parents and Oliver's mother's support. Just to say a few things she's done for us: she helped us financially while I looked for a better paying job after Oliver died. She takes care of my 10-year-old son whenever he's sick and I have to go to work. She cooks extra portions of food for us when she prepares meals she knows I or my son like. She never asks for or expects anything in return. She is a genuinely good person, and I'm happy she is in our lives. She's a widow too, and Oliver was an only child, so we are her only family. We see her on a regular basis and we really enjoy each other's company. The thing is, I met this guy, 40-year-old male, let's call him Pete, at work 4 years ago. We started dating about a year after we met each other, and we got engaged 2 months ago. After our engagement, Pete suggested that my son and his mother, 66-year-old named Carla, should meet. I thought it was a good idea since they would spend time together after we got married. Carla and my son have met 3 times this past 2 months, all of them at Pete's house for dinner. Pete and I were there too. The last time was last night, and it all went down. Since the moment they first met, Carla has been really pushy, trying to force a bond between them, like giving him presents, asking him to kiss her hello and goodbye even if my son looked uncomfortable. So yesterday I politely asked her to stop doing that. She told me that I was being very rude to her and that maybe I should help by teaching my son to treat her as a grandmother. I told her that I don't have to teach my son to do anything and that he would come to see her as a grandma when and if he wanted. She scoffed and said that would never happen if we kept seeing my dead husband's mother, and suggested that we should stop seeing her since having 3 grandmas would only confuse my kid. I was shocked, and I said I would never kick Oliver's mom out of our lives. First of all, 'cause she's my son's real grandma and he adores her, and that should be reason enough. And second of all, 'cause she's a good person and I want her in our lives. I took my child and left Pete's house. Pete called me later last night and told me I had been really rude to Carla and I should apologize, that she only wants to have a grandma-like relationship with my son. I told him I would like that too, but I'm not shutting Oliver's mom out. Then he says that I'm being very unreasonable, and that my relationship with my former mother-in-law is unhealthy and that I'm blinded by my emotions. I'm actually rethinking our whole relationship and engagement. Am I the jerk? Update 1. I second-guessed myself, 'cause Pete has always been a very understanding person. Any conflict or disagreement we'd had, we could solve it by talking, and he was good in getting my point of view. That's why I thought that maybe I was actually overreacting here, 'cause it's so unlike him to make me feel like I've done something inexcusably wrong. That, and the fact that Carla was actually crying when I left Pete's house last night. The kisses thing. I agree forcing kids to display affection for people they don't actually like is wrong. However, Carla asking him to kiss him is not as creepy as some people think of it. Let me explain. I'm actually from a country in Southern Europe, and greeting people with kisses on each cheek is the norm here, even people you've just met. I hated having to kiss grown-ups I barely knew when I was a kid, so I never forced my son to do so. But it can be viewed as extremely rude if you say an adult that you won't tell your kid to kiss them if the kid doesn't want to. So the first time I didn't stop Carla from greeting my son with 2 kisses cause I didn't want to make a bad impression, but I thought she wouldn't stop asking my son to greet her that way when she saw he didn't like it. I was wrong, and that's why I told her so last night. Also because she insisted that my son said thank you to her with a kiss for the gift she had just given him. She was extra offended because of that. Note, all the English names here are fake. Obviously, I'm clarifying since I came out as a Southern European. Pete has a sister who doesn't want to have kids. That's her choice and that should be respected. Carla has always dreamt of being a grandma, so she was ultra desperate to be liked by my son. I didn't write this in the original post cause of the character limit. When Pete called me last night, I told him that I'm sorry for his mom, but being a grandma is not a right and it's not his sister's responsibility, nor Pete's, and definitely not mine or my son's. He said he couldn't believe I could have this little empathy. I'm off to Pete's house in 15 minutes. I'll write the last update tomorrow. But I'm determined to end the relationship if he hasn't changed his mind. Let's hope he has. Update 2. I broke up with Pete last night. I'm still a bit shocked about everything that's happened in the past 48 hours, and I don't exactly remember how the conversation went. But he said some really hurtful things to me that I would have never expected him to say. It's like the man I've known for years and the man I've had to deal with for the past 2 days are 2 completely different people. I'm heartbroken and I feel a bit stupid right now. I'm not sure if all the signs were already there and I couldn't see them, or if he just didn't care about our past issues as much as he did for this one, or if his expectations about me changed the moment we got engaged. We started talking and I can already see he hasn't changed his mind at all. One of the first things he does is insist on me apologizing to his mom. It only got worse after that. I say I'm not either apologizing for what I said and absolutely I wasn't cutting ties with my mother-in-law. He then again said I have such an unhealthy relationship with that woman cause it is based on mourning. I defend myself by saying we were already close before Oliver died and that of course, we found support and comfort in each other after he died. How dare he say that's unhealthy? I insist that kicking her out is out of the question and that she's staying in my son's life. He can either accept it or get out of my life. We start arguing a bit more. As I said, I don't remember half of the things we said cause I was so mad, sad, and disappointed, and at some point in the middle of the conversation, he tells me something along the lines of please, this may be my mother's last chance to be a grandmother like he already told me the previous night when we called me. I said again that I really am sorry for her, but this is not our responsibility. I also said that I would have loved it if she had become a grandma to my son in a healthy way, but that she had pretty much blown her chances with her attitude the previous night. He got furious about this. The last thing we talked about before I stormed off his house was how Pete didn't think I would be with him right now if Oliver was still alive. I was speechless for a few minutes, I swear. I told him that was so unfair. I can't possibly know what my life would be like in that scenario, or how I would feel about Oliver, about Pete, or about anyone else. I also said I'm not apologizing for having loved and been happy with another man years before I even knew him or for whatever parallel universe he's made up in his mind that I'm not in control of. I also told him that I wished he was half as a good person as Oliver was. Now I see that this was very wrong and low of me and I should have never said that. But I was just not thinking at that point. Imagine how I felt about that. I would not have seen this coming in a million years cause he never even once has had any issue with me being a widow. I guess he was just ruminating all these feelings on his own until we came to this breaking point. Everything about me prioritizing Oliver's mom over his own mom must have triggered him so much if he was already feeling insecure about how I might still feel about Oliver. We yelled at each other for another while, then I became sick of this situation. I told him that in case it wasn't already obvious, the wedding was canceled and that I didn't want to see him again. I get home, it was about midnight, get a shower, and at about 1 a.m. I got a phone call from Carla. She's practically begging me not to cancel the wedding and give them another chance. She was crying and I really felt bad for her. We were talking for almost 45 minutes and I was already exhausted from everything. I said that I was sorry, but I was not going back on my decision. So yeah, right now I'm heartbroken and I feel so stupid like I said. I don't know what happened to the man I've been in love with for 3 years. I feel like everything went so wrong so fast. I guess he just saved me years of progressive disappointment by blowing it all in just 2 days. Better now than when we were already married, I guess. Even if I feel like shit right now, I think I did the right thing and I'll be okay. I'm putting my son first, and of course, my mother-in-law stays with us for as long as she wants to have us. Thanks to everyone who showed their support. Actually, having strangers with an impartial point of view helped make my decision. Now let's see what the community has to say. Opinion number 1 says, so, OP was supposed to get rid of an extremely important part of not only her life, but her son's life. Just throw mother-in-law away like a used Kleenex because now there was another grandma waiting in the wings. Abandon a woman who has no other family. Oh, no. Oh, hell no. Pete knew she was a widow. He knew that she was very close to her mother-in-law. There was no other reason than jealousy to demand that she do an evil thing like that. His jealousy, Carla's jealousy, doesn't really matter. OP is lucky she found out before the wedding. I can see Carla swooping in at the reception saying that she's the grandma now and pitching a royal hiss fit when the new step-grandson doesn't see it that way. 3 grandmas would be confusing. Not a bit. My oldest grandson has 4, 2 bio, and 2 steps. He has never been confused. When he says my other grandparents, he means his stepmother's parents. I'm not jealous of them. Kids who have multiple grandparents who love them are lucky. Opinion number 2 says, so that's the problem. He's jealous of the dead husband. Possibly thinks that her keeping a relationship with her mother-in-law is somehow cheating on him and his family. I hate people like this. Just because someone isn't in your life anymore, whether it's because of a breakup, death, or whatever, it doesn't mean you have to cut off everyone that was connected to them. I'm proud of OP here for maintaining that relationship. Mother-in-law is a grandma because she's been there for the family and there for her grandson all of these years. Carla and Pete are ridiculous to think that Carla could just come in and basically replace her. Opinion number 3 says, I think it would be better to call a former mother-in-law just my child's grandmother. When you are a grandparent, you don't just stop being a grandparent when your kid dies or your grandchild survives. I believe where I am, grandparents actually have some legal rights to their grandchildren. Cutting out a loving grandparent because of a new marriage is wrong, and it is crazy to call maintaining that relationship unhealthy. I have a family situation where my brother-in-law is out of the picture, but we maintain a good relationship with his ex-wife and his daughter. The daughter will always be my son's cousin and my niece, whether the ex-wife remarries or has a new relationship or whatever. People are crazy. Jealousy makes people even crazier. How about you guys? What do you think? Leave a comment and let's discuss down below. If you enjoyed it, maybe subscribe and leave a like. It will help my channel a lot and motivate me to make more for you. Thanks for listening and take care.